Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Beaver and today I'm going to tell you guys that I failed miserably distilling that Mountain Brandy. Now before we get way too much into what happened, let's quickly pop over to Pause Beaver. He's going to say hi to you guys again. He's just going to show you guys what we did up until the point, and then I'll take over and I'll explain what happened after that, because up until that point everything went well and then everything went to a ball of shit. So yeah, let's quickly pop over to Past Beaver. He's going to explain a little bit and see you guys in a minute. Today we are distilling the Mountain Brandy. So this is part 2 of the Mountain Brandy videos. This is where we're actually going to be getting our wash into the still and we're going to be distilling it. Now if you haven't watched the part 1 of this yet and you want to know more about the recipe, I'll put a link down in the description as well as up here, and you can go watch the video on how we got to the part where we made the actual Mountain Brandy. So this is part 2. Let's get it into the still. But before we do that, what we're going to do is we're just going to dump everything in there. The still is set up. We're going to run it only electric with a PID. So we're going to get our wash into the still now with a diffuser plate. The night before doing this, I did pull out all the solids and filtered out all the solids, so all the mush from the apples, I did filter it out. So this should be a nice and clear wash that we're going to get into the stills. With the mash and the still now, it's time to get the still up and running. So what I'm going to do is, because there's still some chunky bits left over, I'm going to get it plugged into the PID, I'm going to get it turned on, and then it's going to start heating up. Because we're using an element, I don't want anything to scorch. I do have a false bottom in the bottom of the still, helping me with those solids a little bit. But what I'm going to do is get it on, get it running, get it to a point where we can actually start feeling the temperature at the top coming off. Just going to use my drill with a paint mixer just to keep stirring it slowly, just to get it up to temperature, keep everything moving so we prevent scorching it. And if we scorch it, we're done for. We're not going to be able to do the runs. Now with the still getting to temperature, what I want to do now is start setting up how I am going to run the still. And for this here, because we're going to do a one and done run, I'm going to be using plates to get my ABV up a little bit, also to maintain a specific ABV. So I'm going to be using 2 plates. Now because this is a whiskey and a brandy mixed together, I do not know if this is going to bubble up or puke while stirring it now, while heating it up. Got a lot of the gases out, so hopefully it doesn't puke. But just in case, what I'm going to do is just going to get 1 extra side glass at the bottom before the first bubble plate. So if it starts boiling up, I can see it and I can turn the power down just to keep that from puking or getting past the first bubble plate. So yeah, let's get the still up, set up. Let's get the first bubble plates in place. So with our column now all set up and ready, I'm going to add one more piece to this puzzle. Now if you're going to do this at home and you do not have a dedicated gin basket, what I would suggest is within the column somewhere hang some of the stuff that I'm going to be showing you now. But for me, I'm lucky enough to have a offset gin basket. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take off the line arm. I'm going to put my gin basket in place. Now this gin basket sits up there. It is offset, so what's going to happen is our vapor is going to travel in, travel up, and then we're going to load this little sieve here that slides into our gin basket with a infusion type of deal. Now the infusion we're going to be doing is some apple skin. So I'm going to be peeling some apples, dumping a whole lot of skins into this gin basket, and then I'm going to let it ride. Now the still all set up, all the water and everything connected. It's now time just to let it get up to temperature. So let the column fill with vapor. What you saw me do is put the gin basket up top there, but I have not yet added the sieve. Now you'll see me adding the apple peels as well as the sieve to the top here once I'm ready to do that. Now let's get this baby up to temperature and I'll see you guys when I'm ready so we can infuse some nice fresh apple flavor into this Mountain Brandy. So with the still now up to temperature, or at least starting to produce on all of the plates, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to switch the still over into full reflux, leave it there for a good 20 to 30 minutes. This is just going to allow, number one, the boiler to get to an even temperature all around, and that heat column on the inside taking out all the nasties out of the alcohol that we want to take off, that we're going to call heads and foreshots. Just allow that whole boiler to get up to temperature nice and evenly. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start taking our foreshots and heads cut. Once we are done taking our foreshots and heads cut, we're going to turn the still back into full reflux and then only add our apple skins at the top, as well as our sight glass. You can see is missing at the moment. We're going to be putting some apple into there as well, so we get some more of that appley goodness flavor coming through, so the fresh apple flavor. So yeah, let's quickly get this still running so we can keep it in full reflux for the next 20 to 30 minutes. Set a timer, come back, and then we're going to start taking our foreshots and our heads cuts. With the still now being in reflux for the full 20 minutes, we should be able to have a nice and compressed heads and foreshots cut. So what we're going to do now is we're going to start dialing back on the reflux so that we get some of the vapor going past. We're also going to bump the temperature on the PID so we can actually start getting drips coming off the spout here, so we can start collecting our foreshots and heads. Now we want to take that off at a relatively high ABV, but we want to check that the ABV keeps dropping nice and slowly, because we want it to be around about 80% by the time we transition into the hards cut, because we want to take the hards of this specific product off at about 80%, which is good for brandy, and then we're going to push it all the way down to about 50, maybe 40% for the whiskey flavor. So remember in the first video I said we're going to be looking if there is nice fruity flavors in the more towards the heads side of the hards, and then your nice robust whiskey flavors closer to your tail side of things. So let's quickly get that. Enough talking, let's start taking our cuts. With us coming close to the end of the heads cut now, remember this is going to be a brown spirit, so we're going to age it, so we want a little bit more of those headsy flavors as well as the fruity flavors in the heads. And as expected, we did get some apple flavors right up in front in the heads, but it was way too deep in the head still, so it still had that acetone nail polish remover kind of smells to it, so I didn't want to use that. But we're getting to the point now where we're getting to the usable product. So what I want to do is flip the still back into full reflux, and then we're going to just dump our apples into the line or into the column, as well as into the end into our sight glass, so we can get some flavor cram in there that we lost in the head. So we're going to have vapor infusion at the top, and then we're going to have the liquid alcohol dripping through the pieces of apple as it goes through, and we're going to start collecting that now. Now, as you saw there, past Beaver did a couple of steps. We put the still on, we ran it, we took our heads cut, we put our fruit into the gin basket as well as the end after our limbic condenser, and we expected to have a good run. Now, just after that, Eskom announced load shedding, so what I had to do is shut everything down, because in the next 30 minutes the power was going to go off. So what I did is I just shut everything down. We had load shedding for 2.5 hours. After the load shedding came back, I turned the still back on, and yeah, we had a cold front move in with a lot of wind, and that caused the whole distilling room and everything to cool down rapidly. Now, because the distilling room is not sealed up all the way, wind got in and it made a holy mess of the run. So what happened is we did the run, we finished, we took 2 liters off, stopped at about 50%, and I just said, no, I can't get it right. So what happened? Now, as the run was going on and I was trying to rebalance the column, I couldn't get the column to balance, because every time that I saw the bubble plate starting to balance and getting nice and floated, the wind picked up and it blew very cold wind over the still, caused it to condense a hell of a lot of liquid down the still again, flooded the plates, as well as my PID kicked in and it just bumped the energy into the bottom of the still, pushing a lot of vapor back up again, causing the plates to flood even further. Then it balanced out, and then it got really cold within the next 30 minutes, and the 3 kilowatt element at the bottom wasn't even enough to push the heat all the way past the gin basket at the top. So you could actually feel putting a hand on the gin basket at the bottom, it's nice and hot, but as soon as you touch the top, it went cold. So I had to employ the gas. So I turned on the gas at the bottom of the still just a little bit, just to give it a bit of a pump. But that caused, once again, the PID to go crazy every time there was a flux or a change in temperature. So the wind blew over it, the temperature in the still or in the column dropped, the PID then overcompensated and pushed a lot of energy in. So I tried to balance the still as best as I could, but I just couldn't get it to run properly. Now we did take off product, like I said, about 2 liters of product at about 70% ABV, but it was horrible. Okay, so the smell I got of this, yes, there were fruity smells, and we did manage to get a nice appley smell in the beginning, and then it transitioned into the grainy smells. But every now and then, I tried to take smaller cuts as well, but every now and then all that happened is it got grungy, almost like the what do you call that stuff you put over a cake, like fondant kind of smell to it, and it just didn't go away. Now I left it overnight to evaporate a little bit off. The smell did get a little bit better, but not to the point that I'm willing to use it. I'm going to be redoing the recipe and seeing if I can rerun it maybe next time, ensure that the still is properly insulated. Now I didn't do that because the still was running and it was the second time I turned it on. I didn't want to turn it off and do it for a third time. And we've already taken a lot of products, because when I turned the still back on again, I had to take a small head scut again just to get that funky stuff out of the way. So we were running into the scenario where we were going to run out of product to actually collect, making it not worthwhile anymore. Yes, I'm going to be redoing the recipe. Hopefully I will be getting it right. The 2 liters of product we have here, we're just going to dump it into the next run. Maybe see if we can pull some of those flavors through, because yes, we did get the grain, we did get the apple, but the funky stuff that came in between just overpowered everything. And if I didn't use that, we wouldn't have enough product, because I wanted to take this and put it into a small 3-liter barrel. And yeah, so we're not going to be doing that in this video, but definitely hit that subscribe button down below. See if I fail again trying to make Mountain Brandy. And yeah, hopefully this time I'll get it right. Next time I'll do a full video, start to finish recipe and distilling. So yeah, let's see if we can get that done. Now, thank you very much for sticking around. Hopefully I get this right the next time, and have a lekker day.